It happened on a cold January night in 1995, a moment so surreal. It felt like a glitch in football's reality. Selhurst Park, Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. The ball went out of play, the referee blew his whistle, and Eric Cantona exploded. Not at the opposing defender, not at the referee, but at a fan. One leaping kick, studs to chest, the sound of silence followed by chaos. For millions watching live, it was a moment of disbelief. For the FA and Manchester United, it was a nightmare, but for Cantona, it was release. What the world saw was violence. What few understood was pressure. Months of whispers behind the scenes, tabloid attacks, internal warnings from the club about his attitude, tensions with Alex Ferguson. But Cantona heard it, and unlike other players trained to absorb abuse, he didn't freeze, he didn't flinch, he chose to fight. Headlines screamed shame, TV hosts labeled him a disgrace to the game, and behind closed doors, the FA began planning something far more severe than a red card. And one final trigger, a fanist slur that pierced through the fog of routine like a knife. The man kicked that night, Matthew Simmons, shouted something no one dared repeat. "He's not bigger than the badge," one executive reportedly said. But Ferguson, complex, calculating, and always 2 moves ahead, played it differently. What followed was not just a suspension, it was an inquisition, a national debate. Parliament members chimed in. He's leaving England. United will terminate his contract. Reporters camped outside his flat in Manchester, chasing quotes that never came. TV panels dissected his psyche like a fallen emperor. They didn't want answers, they wanted a narrative. United's boardroom split. Some directors wanted him gone. He listened. He let Cantona speak, and then offered him a choice: walk away quietly, or make the greatest comeback English football had ever seen. Football was becoming global, richer, more image-conscious. A flying kick to a fan threatened the myth of the beautiful game. Sponsors called. Politicians raged. It was measured, borderline cryptic. Eric has made a mistake. He knows that, but I know character when I see it. The message was clear. Make an example out of him. He asked to speak with Cantona alone. What was said in that meeting remains a mystery, but those close to the situation claimed Ferguson didn't scold him. No press, no cameras. Just boots in hand and a whisper to the groundskeeper. "Can I train?" "You suspend him," he reportedly said, "but don't break him." In long walks and late-night conversations, he laid out what he felt: betrayal from the sport, exhaustion from the circus, and a creeping temptation to vanish from it all. But one sentence from his brother stuck with him: "Because if you do, he'll break everything with him." Cantona didn't answer that night. He walked out in silence, past reporters and board members, into the London rain, still wearing his suit, collar up. Because sometimes legends aren't born in glory, they're born in disgrace, and what they do next defines them forever. 4 weeks after the incident, Cantona vanished. No interviews, no statements, just silence. And in that silence, chaos. The tabloids fed on the vacuum. Each day brought new speculation. He's finished, and they sensed blood in the water. Behind the scenes, an emergency disciplinary panel was formed. It wasn't just about punishing Cantona, it was about control. But Ferguson wasn't done. He called in his old ally David Davies, then a rising force in the FA. Ferguson wasn't pleading, he was negotiating. Cantona, meanwhile, wasn't idle. He was in France, meeting with his brother, a former semi-pro player turned philosopher. You can leave, but then you become their story. Stay, and you write your own. Back in England, Ferguson crafted a public statement, not from the club, but from himself. The FA handed down the ban: 9 months from football. It was one of the harshest punishments ever issued to a player in English football. United didn't appeal. Most assumed Cantona would walk away, but in a rare moment, he walked into Old Trafford, unannounced, days after the ban. In the empty stadium, under grey skies, Cantona jogged alone. Because redemption wasn't going to come from words, it would come from silence and work. By the time August rolled around, English football had moved on. At least, that's what the headlines wanted you to believe. Blackburn were champions. Alan Shearer was the new darling. And United, they were chasing shadows without their spark. But behind Carrington's closed gates, something was building. Cantona trained like a man possessed. No interviews, no flair, just repetition. Crosses, finishes, quiet discipline. Even Ferguson, who rarely complimented individuals publicly, told a friend, "It was as if football was holding its breath. He's not training like he's returning. He's training like he never left." The press caught on. Paparazzi snapped grainy photos of Cantona walking into the training ground at dawn. Fans started chanting his name again. Children wore his shirt to school. Roy Keane, newly promoted to vice-captain, had once said, "Eric's a genius, but he brings heat." Others, like Ryan Giggs and Schmeichel, quietly welcomed him with nods and small talk. No ceremony, just the silence of men who knew war was near. October came. His ban was nearing its end. United submitted his name to the squad list. One headline read, "Stops, pauses, threads a pass with surgical precision, goal assist." Just like that, he's back. But should he be? Inside the dressing room, some teammates were wary. Then came the night. October 1st, 1995. United versus Liverpool, Old Trafford. Primetime kickoff. Ferguson waited until the tunnel to tell him, "Start slow, then do what only you can." Within weeks, his impact was measurable. Goals came, wins followed, and the dressing room, once fragmented, now revolved around a single gravity. The crowd erupted when Cantona walked out, collar up, boots shining, expression unreadable. He protected Cantona like a king guards a pawn who just reached the 8th rank. The cameras didn't blink. The world wanted a villain or a saint. What they got was a statement. They approached Ferguson first. He refused. 17th minute United counter. Cantona receives the ball on the edge of the box. Every tackle, every look toward the stands, every delayed interview. It was as if they were waiting for another crack. The press tried too. Journalists baited him, prodded him. "Do you regret? Will you do it again?" Cantona answered with volleys, with calm fury. And so, one morning after training, Cantona was pulled aside by a marketing liaison, offered a brand deal. "It'll show you've moved on," they said. Newcastle, under Kevin Keegan, had held a 12-point lead, but United clawed back, match by match. Cantona scored game winners, delivered assists, dictated tempo like a conductor. He didn't celebrate wildly, no arms raised, just a glance to the stands, as if to say, "I told you." After the match, reporters swarmed, but Cantona didn't give them what they wanted. No apologies, no rants, just 5 words. When the seagulls follow, the room fell silent. He walked off, no smile, no fury, just the cool aura of a man who had just rewritten the rules. Cantona's return didn't just change United, it changed the league. Ferguson knew it. He didn't need to say it out loud. He was dangerous, but only if turned against you. And yet, the FA didn't forget. Every match, they watched him. But then came a different kind of confrontation. Not with a fan or an opponent, but with his own club. In January 1996, United executives pushed for a media campaign to rehabilitate Cantona's image. Appearances, interviews, maybe even a charity event. "You don't understand him," Ferguson reportedly told the board. "He doesn't want your redemption. He wants his." But pressure mounted. Sponsors began whispering. Nike, Umbro TV networks wanted the face that had just returned from exile. He paused, looked the man in the eye, and in perfect English said, "I didn't come back to sell shoes. I came back to win." Word got back to Ferguson. He laughed for the first time in days. "That's Eric," he told Keane. "Pure chaos, pure control. And win, they did." Cantona's form ignited a title race that had seemed lost. Every time he stepped on the pitch, he wasn't just playing, he was proving. And as March faded into April, the message was clear to fans, rivals, and the press. You don't exile kings, you crowned them. May 11th, 1996, Wembley FA Cup Final, United versus Liverpool. A tight, tense match, the kind legends dread and live for. 85th minute, a corner. The ball deflects. Cantona, waiting at the edge of the box, doesn't think. He strikes, clean, ruthless, net. 1 goal, 1 trophy, 1 full circle. As the team celebrates, Cantona walks slowly toward the crowd. No roar, no wild gestures, just a stare. Steady, unreadable. The same stadium that once branded him a disgrace now chants his name. He lifts the trophy, but not for the cameras. It's for something else. For the silence he endured, the stormy road, and the redemption he carved with his own boots. Later, in the tunnel, a reporter finally asks, "Why didn't you walk away?" Cantona turns, shrugs, and says, "Because I never left, I just waited." Some players retire with applause. Eric Cantona ended with a statement,